the AGM. I'd just like to add that this happens to be my wedding anniversary.
Oh,
so my wife and I have been married 30 years today, so let's hope this meeting runs smoothly. Like the last 30 years. All righty. Arapata, could you please provide us with a karakia?
Nei, taunei ki rongi a tātou katoa, te wairua nā mātua tupuna, nā rātou e whakatakatō te ara, he koi nā mātou nā uri. E whakatōkia tātou nā kau ki nā tikanga, e ara tākini a tātou, ki a nā kau nui ki te hāpai o tō mahi katoa, i roto te tika, i te pono, me te māramatanga, me te aroha anō e tētahi ki tētahi. E rongo whakiri ki ronga ki a tīna, hui e tai ki e. Kia ora.
Sure. Thank you very much, Arapata. Item 1.1, apologies, please.
I was going to say Murray, but his name just popped up there, so yeah, he's here.
Oh, nothing there. Lovely. So we can move on to 1.2, which is a welcome and introduction. I'm just looking up at my screen and I've got Sandra immediately to my left. So shall we lead off with you, Sandra, please?
Thank you. Hello. What are we meant to be introducing ourselves yet again? Hello, Sandra, Waimakariri District Councillor. I thought it might be the people that are new to this meeting. But however, hello everybody. We've escaped COVID so far, but the family's had it twice. But yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judith? You're still muted, Judith.
Unmuted. Kia ora tātou, Judith here. Yeah, practicing social isolation, so I'm managing to remain COVID free, I must admit. Yeah, just life goes on, doesn't it? Thanks.
Thank you. Caroline?
You can't hear you, Caroline.
Not there. Tia is dutifully. Oh, Caroline is back. Caroline, could you introduce yourself, please? No, we'll move on. Tia is dutifully taking the minutes. Thank you, Tia. Wendy, are you with us?
I am. I hope you can hear me.
Yep.
Yep. No, I'm here. I'm a community representative. Hope everyone's doing well.
Thank you. Murray.
Kia ora everyone. Apologies if you missed me at the start there. I was just helping, hopefully John Ben from Doc will join us, just getting 1 or 2 emails from people just getting on the Zoom link. So I'm working the front door as well, but facilitator for this lovely committee, and delighted to be here this afternoon, Mike. John's here. That's great.
Good. Andrew.
Kina koutou katoa, ko Andrew Arps, the Northern Zone Manager. Good to see you all here on Radio with Pictures. Okay. Those of you remember that, okay?
So, yep.
Erin, please.
Good afternoon, Erin Harvey, our Community Representative.
Great. John?
It's John Cook, Nai Tuhuriri Runanga Rep.
Right. And we've got Martha there.
Kia ora, I'm Martha. I'm also a community rep.
Stephanie. You are on mute, Stephanie. Stephanie, you're still on mute.
Hi, am I working now?
No, you're live. Yes, thank you.
Kia ora team. My name is Stephanie Sims. I'm a community comms and engagement advisor at Environment Canterbury. Apparently I need to learn how to drive my technology. Apologies for that.
That is fine. Now this is bounced around. Martha, we've said hello to you, haven't we?
Yes, hello.
Yep, thank you. All right. Lisa, please.
Kia ora. Yeah, I'm Lisa Jenkins. I'm the team leader for freshwater planning at ECAN.
Thank you, Lisa. Now we've got Arapata. Have we talked to you, sir?
Kia ora tātou. Arapata Ruben, the other Ngāi Tuahuriri representative. Yep. Kia ora.
Thank you. Kate.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Kate. I'm a resource management officer at in regional implementation at Environment Canterbury.
Thank you. Murray, I've got a recorder there with no person on it. We'll pass on that.
Hi, Mr. Chairperson, that's the recorder that we use to audio stream.
Okay, we'll let that run. Lucky. We've got Emily there on an iPhone.
Yes, hi, I'm a comms and engagement advisor for the Northern Zone under Kim.
Rightio, thanks, Emily. Sophia.
Kia ora koutou. So Water Environment Advisor at Waimakariri District Council. Yeah, and Sophie Allen. I don't know what comes up as Sophia.
Well, that's
interesting.
An A in there. I thought I've been calling you wrong name all these years, Sophia.
No, it's just I think it's the username for the council comes up there for some reason. Yeah.
That's all right.
Sophie A.
Sophie A. John, Ben.
Yep, hello everyone. Yep, I won't bother with the video. I'm ugly enough. So yep, I'm here listening to it.
Thanks, John. Now, somewhere in there, hopefully she hasn't dropped off, but I saw Annabelle. Annabelle, are you still with us?
Unmute myself. Kia ora. Hi, Annabelle. No title to my name. Resident, ratepayer.
Excellent. Thank you, Annabelle. We will be coming to you very shortly under item 2. If you've got enough patience, we'll be with you shortly. Right. Is there anybody out there in cyberspace that we have missed, please? Speak up now or forever hold your peace.
Hi, can you hear me?
Lockie.
Lockio, yeah. My name's Lockio. I'm a planner at Environment Canterbury.
And a very important person too. Sorry, Lockie.
Thank you.
The screen bounces as people put their hand up, so my apologies.
No problem.
Right. Rightio. So Caroline is struggling, is that right, Murray?
It looks like it. I've just suggested to her that we'll keep an eye on the chat, and if she's got any questions or things she wants to add, then chat will be the way she feels gagged, but we'll do the best we can to include her as we proceed.
Thank you. Item 1.3, registrations of interest. Do we have any advice, changes or updates, please? None taken. Thank you. Alrighty. Item 2. item 2, which is opportunity for the public to speak. Annabelle, I believe you are the only member of the public who's joined us today, so it's a privilege, and the floor is yours.
Great. Oh, I feel very privileged. I feel like I'm snooping on something quite official. I don't know, Mike, have you told them my story?
No, you come in with a clean slate.
Well, that's the first. I live over on Fernside on a Rorke's Road. I'm on the very edge of Fernside's rocky area. I'm completely wet. It's not dry at all where I am. So I've been here 33 years and began a wee project last year. It's always been my desire to, I'm quite an environmentalist, bit of a greenie, and I have springs on several springs, freshwater springs on my property. One is pretty close to the house, and then I have some more out in the paddocks. I've got 25 acres and I'm bordered by a dairy farm, and a developer has just bought the block the other side of me. There's underground streams. I think they've been tiled in the past from my neighbours upstream of me, and it flows through, creating quite, they never dry up, waterways. So it's been my desire to do the right thing, because although the water begins here and springs up here, it joins the Cuss River and Cam River, so it becomes everybody's water. And I have a responsibility to make sure that the water passes through my place in a clean way. Now that is a challenge. Several years ago, I set about fencing off the wetlands, and I've had many people visit my property, with Mike included. So I've had Sephora from ECAN out several times. I've had, I think, is it Murray from the UE2 Trust? Scientists. So I wanted to know if what I had was worthwhile protecting. So he came out and confirmed that, yes, although severely degraded, it is a genuine wetland. So that sort of upped the ante a wee bit to think, oh gosh, okay, comes with quite a bit of responsibility. When I planted in the spring last year, I planted 2,000 natives after fencing off along waterways that are created by my springs, and started planting off the carrick sector, and then other native plants that I got from Southern Woods. I guess what I want support in, but I don't mind doing the grunty work, and I find it difficult that the only way that I know of to apply for assistance and support is if you've got a continuous hectare. Now, I've got a hectare of fenced off areas, but it's not continuous. And that seems a shame, because I definitely want to do the right thing. I also have a limited amount of knowledge, and I really would like someone to take me by the hand and say, hey, here's your wetland. This is what we're going to do. Because my house here is pre-1900 and the floorboards are kahikatea, so I suspect it's from milled kahikatea locally. And so I would like to return that, ultimately long term, to kahikatea. But firstly, I've got to protect those waterways. I have found underneath a little footbridge that I got from when the docky used to go over the road down and the lovely council people delivered it to my place. Little freshwater mussels, which I believe are incredibly talented at purifying water, but only exist in shade. So ultimately, I have got to shade those waterways. So hence the carrick sector. Now, I couldn't have chosen a better year to plant, because I haven't had to water a thing. So the losses that I've got, I was told to expect a 30% loss, which I stubbornly refused to accept, and has come to pass that nature has provided. And so my plants are looking really good, if not hidden, because the growth is phenomenal. I've lost a a few plants, but I think it's because it's actually too wet, which is ironic. Yeah, I want to know how to do the right thing most effectively. So I just need someone to take me by the hand and really support me in that. And it's been interesting because the more you share, the more I feel I'm doing the right thing. And so many people want to help. I've had people out to help me plant and make up the protector guards. And it seems timely that ECAN planted several hundred down here just near me, because I'm right where the Cuss River comes in to O'Rourke's Road by the wee footbridge. And so I've noticed that the planting's gone on there where they've done some stop bank repairs. So that's really cool. Eventually, I would like to protect that and have public access, but that's a wee way off. I sprayed with Buster, which recommended to me. And I saw some rushes coming back, but I had another friend come out who knew more than me and identified them. One was from Canada and one was from South America. So I was devastated. So yeah, not sure where to go to next because the water's gushing, it's spreading everywhere. And yeah, so that's my story.
Okay. Thank you, Annabelle. If I could just chime in with my 2 cents. And I'm not sure about other zone members who are here. The time, or some of the time, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall in this process and you wonder, are you making progress? Because you get bogged down with plans and meetings and more plans and recommendations, but what's actually being done. And a lot of what Annabelle has done is a physical action on the ground, but it's come about from some of the PR work that's come from WDC and ECAN that has spurred her into action to recognise as a landowner that she has a duty of care for water quality. And that gives me great hope for the future. So that's my 2 cents. Is there any committee members or staff members would like to offer Annabelle a little gem of knowledge or two? Judith, please.
I'm putting on my, hi Annabelle, that's amazing project there. My Waimakariri Biodiversity Trust hat here, because that's the perfect sort of project that the Trust is going to be able to help with. Annabelle, I don't know if you know much about the Trust. We're only just formed. I mean, we're literally a bunch of trustees. We've just kind of been given some money by Waimakariri District Council where we can actually employ a coordinator and somebody to do exactly what you say, which is to come along, take your hand, say, what about this here? This is how we can do it. Until we can employ somebody, we are sort of talking about looking for some project or something to work with, just so that we can be bubbling along and finding out how to do things. And that might be something I can talk to you offline about and just see how we can help, and just not be another group coming along and giving you another piece of different advice, but actually get it into a more practical and perhaps a bit more overview sort of situation. My other suggestion would be Andrew Arps and the First 500 Springs project.
Thank you. I saw Anna there briefly, who's joined the meeting, Anna Veltman. Oh, Anna. A bit of noise, please. Mic on.
I mean, there is this money for the first 500 metres downstream of the spring, which Andrew has been sending or allocating. We heard a lot about it probably a year, 18 months ago, and I just wondered what's happened to those projects and if there's still money there for 500 metres downstream of Annabelle Springs. Sounds like quite a lot of land if you got so many springs.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Andrew may be able to speak to that.
Yep. Okay,
Mike?
so just to clarify, first 500 was a subset of immediate steps program, which is passed. However, Annabelle, I'm sure we can actually.
I'm not getting any sound from Andrew, is that?
He's frozen in time.
And for that matter too, we can probably check in with Judith just to kind of round everything out, also with the Biodiversity Trust, and yeah, see what we can come up with. We can actually help you out. I just don't know the site, so we just need to understand what form that might take.
Lovely. Thank you, Andrew. Anna, you're back, but you're still on mute. If you wanted to.
Thanks. Yeah, I've only just tuned in, so I'm not quite with the conversation, I'm afraid.
Okay, no, that's all right, but thank you for joining the meeting.
Thank you for having me.
Anyone else? Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well done, Annabelle. Sounds excellent. Who from Waimakariri District Council have you been talking to?
That was difficult. I had tried to get hold of Kate Steele.
Yeah, she's been unwell.
Been very unwell. And then when she did get hold of me, it was, so no, that really hasn't. I just backed off because I heard she was unwell, really. So, we've been a couple of times, and we've tried to catch fish because we saw a fish. So that was cool. I have a incredibly healthy population of tuna, the eel here, which indicates that this water is actually in pretty good health, which is really encouraging.
I was going to, we have a contract replacement for, doing some work, not a replacement, but doing some work that Kate was doing. I don't know whether have you spoken to Sophie Ellen at all? No.
Sophia. Hello, Sophia.
Yeah, so I'm not showing us Sophie Ellen, that's great. Yeah. So I'm also at Waimakariri District Council, and I do work with Kate and Bex, who's helping her out part-time. But yeah, we haven't been in touch, so I might better help. The only thing is the hitch is I've got maternity leave soon. So yeah, there's a constant change in this world. Yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say what you're doing fits in with a Waimakariri District Council project called Arahati Tiawa, which is Cherish the River, which is public access, planting, protecting waterways, the whole kit and caboodle. We're not up your way at the moment. We only started last year, but certainly I can get your contacts and be interested to get in contact and perhaps go further, because there are there's certainly the Biodiversity Trust, which is, I don't know whether you, as Judith said, not quite up and going to the point where they may be able to give you some informal advice, but certainly we want to put you on our radar so that we can help as much as we can help at this stage. So well done, absolutely excellent what you're doing. Yeah, and I'll get your contacts and I'll be in touch. And so I think Sophie and perhaps Bex Dollery from the council. So cool.
Trying to put my hand up, Mike.
No, that's all right.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The other piece of background is that I've grown up on a farm, so I'm a farm girl at heart, and it really upsets me to see farmers not doing the right thing by the land. And so there's some work to be done with my neighbours. And I thought by setting a good example and talking with them, that might have some sort of positive impact as well. The place in front of me, so this is just a little challenge I'm facing, is a property upstream of me, as I would call it. It's been just sold to a developer and changed hands this last week. So he has come to me and said that because I'm not cleaning up my waterways, his paddock's flooding, and demanding that I clean it out. Now, that's been very upsetting. It was actually quite stressful, and it was very upsetting because the last time I did that was at the request of the previous owner, and that's when I found out about the eel, the tuna, and they were killed in their hundreds. I spent a couple of hours returning them to the water. I know they're going to make their way there, but the birds had arrived to eat the younger ones. So I have inquired about the least damaging way to do that. Now that's going to disturb the sediment, no matter what I do. But that's not flooding because of my waterways, it's flooding because there is an intermittent spring in their paddock, but it can't flow anywhere because my waterways are clogged with watercress. So I have agreed, because it's become a bit of an issue actually in my place too, to do one strip, but using a water rake. So that's things like that that are really at the coalface, like how do I do the right thing by the environment? But there's flooding. I mean, it's an incredibly unusual year. It's never happened like this before, ever, even in the winter. And I also went on to some English sites and down there, and have a sister in Denmark, and they're now finding residue of Roundup in their waterways. And in England, you're not allowed to use any spray on waterways. Now I've got the wetlands with water everywhere, and it's the only thing that's fouling it up is the ducks. It's really hard to do the right thing when everything you think of doing is actually causing damage to the environment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And about, look at this layer upon layer of complexity. Anna, you're there, and you've got an incredibly good practical background of dealing with some of these conflicting parties. Have you got any thoughts that might help, Annabelle?
Yeah, look, I have to apologise. I only just sort of tuned in, so I haven't heard the preceding conversation and Annabelle's whatever she spoke about before. So I'm a bit out of context here. Be more than happy to meet up, have a conversation. But I'm sorry, I missed the precursor to this. Apologies.
No, yeah.
And Michael, I'm just wondering, we've got a lot of offers of help and different ideas. Now, Annabelle's already had a number of these ideas, and could I offer through the trust, partly through the design committee or through the trust, to actually try and get everybody together so we have a single approach? So
that would be great.
I mean, people might visit her at different times, but just so that all these people know what each other's doing, and we get a bit of a coordinated approach.
Possibly
I'm very concerned about that, particularly this sort of upstream neighbour putting pressure on to do.
That is a lovely offer, Judith, but I appreciate you're still sort of in that formative stage with the trust, and it sounds like Annabelle's needing a wee bit of advice in the shorter term.
Well, I'm talking about that now. I mean, the trustees are operative. It's just we don't have a paid employee, but we can help get the right people there. Sure. And that was what I was thinking, rather than.
Okay, good. How about we put you on point? We'll put you on point, and we'll get you Annabelle's contact details and see what we can bring together.
Yeah, that's pressure's on me. So if someone was able to come out this week, the next few days would be fantastic.
The pressure's on to drain. Is that the pressure's on to clean?
That's the immediate pressure.
The immediate threat. Yeah.
Now there was a message pop up. Sorry, there was a message pop up from Arapata Reuben to say he could help with the watercress straight away. I'm not sure what sort of volume, but he might be just looking for a feed.
I'm sure we could definitely help her get rid of that, mate.
Yeah.
There may be the stray eel that jumps in there, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes.
Go for it.
Alrighty. How does that sound, Annabelle?
That'd be great. At the moment, I've got Dean Hurley booked in to come either this Thursday, this Friday, or the next Monday. What do you think I should put him off?
Definitely defer him to as far down the track as you can without upsetting your neighbour too much. But it's that tricky one. Given that it's intermittent spring, and this might be an ECAN answer, then I would ask the question, if it's an intermittent spring you're bordering on an ephemeral waterway, And that possibly should be fenced if he's got stock in there.
Yes.
So then we start coming into a whole other issue of how to deal.
I have informed them that I've had ECAN out and they've identified it as an intermittent spring, and it has been, the tiles went in, drainage tiles went in over 30 years ago. So I've been completely upfront.
Yeah.
But I also want to be a good neighbour because their paddock is actually in trouble. So.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And look, if both parties can work together, I think you can forge your way forward rather than locking horns too much.
Okay, so if you contact me, ringing, I don't often answer my phone, but texts I always respond to. So thank you so much for listening to me. Has anyone got any other questions? Otherwise, I'll leave you to it.
Lovely. No, that's great. Thanks, Annabelle, for your time.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Annabelle.
Alrighty. Item 3, Plan Change 7 and Plan Change 2 update. Wakil, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Is this video going? Good. Kia ora everyone. I introduced myself before. My name is Wakil and I'll be joined today by Kate. So it looks like I'm not looking at you because I have you on another screen. And I'll just get this presentation going.
While you're getting set up, Wakil, I think for the rest of the committee's benefit, just to highlight that you've provided this presentation to the OTOP committee earlier in the day as well.
Yes, yeah. And they had no questions, so.
But both committees being on the same day and both being part of the sub-regional, as some of you recall, was a bit of a problem resourcing through the process, but online sessions has made it possible today.
Absolutely. Can you see the presentation that I've shared here?
Yes.
Yes.
And so just another thing is that we might get you to hold your questions until the end if that's okay, just so we can get through it in case we come to the answer naturally on another slide. Also, I just can't see any of the chat function at the moment. So if you want to leave something in the chat, that's fine. I think Murray's going to help us run the questions at the end of the presentation. So if you leave them there, we will look back to it, or you could just hold it and ask it yourself when we get there.
Lockheed, another option, and this is at your, whatever you feel comfortable with. We could, given that we've been presented with most of it, take it as read and go straight to questions, but it depends what your thoughts are.
Yep. Oh, so have you had a wee look through the presentation already?
Well, we've been given an overview.
I'm happy to do that.
Not the presentation itself, Lakil. So, but obviously the supporting information that was on the agenda.
Okay. Well, we'll whip through the presentation really quickly because there's possibly a little bit more in here than I put in the paper. But we won't spend too long on it, and then we have a bit more time for questions at the end. There's only 9 slides, and one's the title and one's the end slides.
Okay. Shoot.
Cool. Oh, this isn't actually there. Cool. So I am starting with a bit of a summary, like background information there, because I know the zone committees have changed membership a wee bit over the past few years, and some of you might not have been around for the start of Plan Change 7. So when we say PC7, we are referring to Plan Change 7 to the Canterbury Land and Water Regional Plan, or that plan is also referred to as the LWRP. PC7 is comprised of 3 parts. So part A is the omnibus, which makes changes primarily to region-wide provisions to better align the plan with national direction. So that's examples like the plantation forestry topic. And also the omnibus section responds to confined issues raised through implementation of the operative framework. So PC7 introduced a new nutrient management regime for commercial vegetable growing. Part B relates to the OTOP sub-region, so we're not going to cover that here today. And Part C makes changes to Section 8 of the plan, which is the Waimakariri sub-region. And those changes seek to improve nutrient management, improve flows and allocation, and also set a time frame for consent reviews to implement those changes and to improve cultural outcomes. So we won't go into heaps of detail about the plan change because I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it and the decisions have been out for a few months. But if you have any questions, do feel free to ask them at the end. And often in the same breath as PC7, we refer to Plan Change 2, which is Plan Change 2 to the Waimakariri River Regional Plan. That's a change that's consequential to PC7, so it removes an overlap where we have two operative regional plans applying. In the slide you'll see on the left, we've got the green area, which is Section 8 of the Land and Water Regional Plan, and we've got the blue area, which is the Waimakariri River Regional Plan.
Well, Keil, I think we're still on your opening slide. Is that
really?
correct? Yeah. So now it's moving. You might want to, I don't know if you want to click onto slideshow, and
that's where I
might be.
So you've missed this one, which is where I gave background. Is that Plan Change 7 Part C? Yeah.
That's right.
So are you seeing,
yeah, we've got that now.
Does
We're
this
seeing
one
the
say
slides at the side as well, which
I wonder if you might be sharing the wrong screen. Look, you might have your
Okay, I'm gonna restart it if that's okay.
This never happens on online sessions. Every single one.
What if we
Part
go
of the fun. That's looking, yeah, I think you're, how's that look now, everyone?
Oh, too far. So I've nailed my presenting in Teams, but Zoom is like a new realm. So we're on the Plan Change 2 slide.
Yes, you're all go.
And you've got my slide, but not the notes.
But not the notes, correct.
Cool, perfect. Thank you for that, Murray. Where was I? So the map on the left, you can see there's an overlap between the green and the blue, where we've got the green, which is Section 8 of the Land and Water Regional Plan applying, and the blue, which is the Waimakariri River Regional Plan applying. So the purpose of Plan Change 2 to the Waimakariri River Regional Plan is to remove that overlap, so only Section 8 applies, and the Waimakariri River Regional Plan will continue to apply to the main stem of the river and the upper catchment, including its headwaters, and an area of land south of the Waimakariri River. So is that moved for you?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And a wee bit of background on the process here is going back a wee bit earlier than what's on the slide. The Waimakariri part of PC7 was largely based on and informed by the work that the Zone Committee did, working with your community and finalising the Zone Implementation Programme Addendum, or the ZIPper. That was presented to councils in late 2018, and then ECAN notified Plan Change 7 in July 2019. Our council also appointed an independent hearing panel to hear submissions and evidence and make recommendations back to the council. And initially, the hearing was delayed a few months due to COVID. It's meant to start in May 2020, but it did get off the ground in September 2020 and then closed with the reply hearing in February 2021. And then the council's decision was also initially delayed. That was due to the impending anticipated release of the overseer review reports. So the Minister for the Environment granted us an extension to the timeframes for making our decision, well, the council to make its decision, and the council notified its decision to adopt the recommendations of the hearing panel in full in November last year, which brings us to the current stage of appeals. Slides keep getting a bit stuck. Too far. So appeals, because PC7 was notified under the ECAN Act, our appeals were limited to questions of law and not questions of merit, and appeals were lodged directly with the High Court of New Zealand. 5 appeals were lodged on PC7 and they've all had interested parties join the proceedings. Plan Change 2 did not receive any appeals. So provisions not under appeal are now beyond challenge and can be treated as operative. And you can find copies of the notices of appeal, so that kind of provides the scope or what people have appealed on the Plan Change 7 webpage, and that also gives a list of the interested parties that have joined. And there's some information about which provisions ECAN considers to be under appeal. In terms of how appeals affect the implementation of PC7 in the zone, one of the appeals was on region-wide plantation forestry provisions, which if you're looking it up is the Ryanair and Port Blakely one. And the other one, which is relevant, would be the appeal lodged by Narunanga Onatahu and Arowhenua, and that touches on the deletion of the Mahingakai allocation from the the waimakariri flow regimes, as well as OTOP flows. So we can't give a definitive timeline for how long it might take for appeals to be resolved, because it's not actually a process that ECAN runs. It's the High Court who are in charge now. What I can say is that as an indication, it's taken about 1 year, so 12 months give or take in the past, for appeals on previous plan changes to be resolved. And when they are all resolved, we will make Plan Change 7 and Plan Change 2 operative, hopefully. No, definitely. We're on to the nitrate priority areas slide here. Murray did send us through some of the questions that the committee had in December when the decision was notified. So we've tried to address them here. I'm sure there'll be more that come up later. So the nitrate priority area provisions are not under appeal, which means they will be treated as operative from now. The decision, in terms of difference from what was initially notified in 2019, the decision found a need for early and more stringent reductions in nitrogen limits. So that increased the reduction in 2030 to be 20% losses, but 20% below GMP across all the nitrate priority areas, and then a second step in 2040 where nitrate losses would be 30% below GMP. And we just want to emphasize that that's 10% more than 2030. It's not, well, 10% less than 2030, sorry, it's not 30% less. So the numbers sort of build on each other, but they don't multiply each other. I don't think that was the best explanation, but I can clarify it later if that didn't make sense. The decision also removes the last 4 stages, but it does retain signals for further reductions in the future in the policy. So sort of section 8.4, the policy provisions, signalling also a need for ongoing monitoring and assessments downstream of the impacts on the river and on the Christchurch deep aquifers. It also retains the different sub-areas, even though they've all been treated the same in the provisions in Plan Change 7, now that those further reductions have been removed. And then the other thing to say here is I'm sure there's going to be questions about overseer, and unfortunately there's not a lot that I can add to that question at the moment. The overseer question is one that's like relevant to PC7 and how it will be implemented, but Plan Change 7 doesn't actually use or refer to overseer in a way that's different to how the operative plan does. So the solution to the operative plan will be applied to PC7 in the same way. I think we're making progress on getting an interim solution agreed. Hasn't quite landed with all the Runanga throughout Canterbury, but where it has been agreed, which I'm pretty sure is the Waimakariri zone, the council should be in a space to start implementing that solution soon. And a good place to look for that information is also just the ECAN website. There is a page on overseer, and that is where the most up-to-date information is always going to be. My last slide before I hand over to Kate is you should be looking at the regional planning framework steps. So one question we get we've had since 2020 when the freshwater package was announced, was if we have to notify a plan or a plan change that's compliant with the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management by the end of 2024, why bother with PC7? So for starters, we still need to implement a plan while that new framework is being developed and then goes through its own hearing process. So that's a minimum of 4 to 5 years that we're still going to need to be implementing the LWRP. And Plan Change 7 is a massive step in the direction that we need to be taking. So, I keep losing my space in my notes, sorry. We're moving in the right direction with PC7. And like I said, we need something to do in the meantime. And hopefully the new framework can build on the great work that's already been done in the zone and for the zone. So we won't be starting from scratch. OTOP and waimakariri actually have sort of the most recent science and work, like that kind of work that's already been done in the past few years. So we'll definitely be looking to build on that rather than start from scratch with the new framework. Now, handing over to Kate.
Hello. Sorry, I'll just pull up my notes. When I unmuted myself, they disappeared. Here we go. So as mentioned, I'm Kate. I'm working to implement PC7 within Environment Canterbury. This implementation is a bit of an ongoing process at the moment. We are working with relevant sections within Environment Canterbury to ensure a consistent approach is taken and ensure we're able to provide accurate information to consent holders, to stakeholders, or really anyone that's involved in the implementation / carry out of PC7. We're also aware that some of the changes in PC7 are also regulated in the essential freshwater regulations. While they're not the same changes and they're not the same legislation, we need to be looking at them alongside each other to make sure we're giving you the most most comprehensive and providing you with the best advice and information available, especially when it comes to which one you need to be looking at, or like looking at them alongside each other and determining which regulation is kind of the strongest, which is generally the one you go with. Alongside the work that's been done internally, we're also working with HortNZ to identify land which is being used for commercial vegetable growing within Canterbury. This will ensure we're able to accurately inform decisions around discretional activities, namely Rule 5.42 CB, which identifies the total area of land used for commercial vegetable growing in the nutrient management area and the Canterbury region as a matter of which discretion can be applied. So this will basically, when we know how much land is used for commercial vegetable growing, we can then determine what percentages of it are able to be consented in the future. So this will be instrumental in ensuring we're able to meet the requirements of PC7 when issuing consents. We don't have a confirmed date on when this will be up and running, but hopefully ASAP. And that's all from me. If you've got any questions, feel free to let me know or Lochiel know.
Lochiel, Kate, thank you for that presentation. Questions from the floor, please. Judith.
Thank you very much for that, both Lochiel and Kate. One thing that didn't seem to come through was the tremendous pressure from the NPS freshwater and the sort of, I understand the sort of conflicts between that and some of the things in PC7 and how ECAM is going to deal with that. You know, you talk about giving the best information, the best advice, but there's actually some real nitty-gritty implementation work to be done to tease them, or well, not tease them apart, knit them together, isn't there? Just wonder how that's going.
Yeah, it's something that's definitely occurring at the moment, and there are a lot of conversations around it in the implementation space. I'm not sure if, Lochiel, you have a better answer than this, but basically we're working on it and we'll have answers as soon as we can. But at the moment, we just are working through everything.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, that's a very wishy-washy answer.
So I know that some of the team have done a lot of work on not just PC7, but the operative Land and Water Regional Plan, like a big conflict assessment there. So conflicts and stringencies, trying to identify any instance of either of those happening in any of the other plans. And PC7 just is running a bit behind that because it doesn't make, we needed the council to make the decision to know that we needed to do the work on the recommendations, if that makes sense. I think, yeah, unfortunately, like Kate said, it does just have, there is a lag to it because we want to make sure we do it once and we do it right. Definitely underway.
Sandra's got a hand up.
Yes, thank you. A question. The main stem of the Waimakariri and the areas to the south and the bits that were excluded from PC7, how do they marry into your 2024 time frame for your total review? Because we understood they were excluded from the work the Zone Committee did to inform PC7. And you're saying, you know, there's questions about, okay, why are you bothering with this when you've got to review the whole thing for 2024? So is that review for the main stem and the areas south of the river still going ahead as a separate exercise, or do they get incorporated into your 2024 efforts?
Yep, so the whole region will be incorporated into the 2024 efforts.
Yeah, well, what happens to the bits that are excluded? There were chapters in the existing regional plan that were up for review, i.e. the main stem and the flows on the main stem and the areas south, which you mentioned. So are they still going ahead as a separate exercise, or do they merge into the whole 2024 deal?
All right, so that will merge into the 2024. So the planning program for the next couple of years it's region wide, not, I think, sort of, I'm sorry, I was trying to get my words right. So it's region wide, and so there will be I don't know now how the consultation and that kind of stuff is going to happen. Those decisions are still being made, and there will be consultation as we go, but it will be the whole region. So those parts that haven't been reviewed as part of PC7 will be part of what we're looking at for 2024, as well as if PC7 doesn't go far enough.
Yeah, because I think that there's quite a number of people who were who saw that it was essential that the Waimakariri River main stem had input into that, and we are waiting for that section. It's Alpine Rivers section in the old plan from what I recall. So how are all the people that are waiting round for giving input into that going to be notified if it's all part and parcel of the general review to notify in 2024? Bearing in mind, you know, you're only talking, we're midway through 2022, and how are everybody going to come together for that? Because there are people wanting to submit on that chapter that hasn't been reviewed.
I might be able to jump in and help you with that, Sandra.
Thank you.
So yeah, we are required by the NPSFM to review our entire freshwater plan framework to give effect to the NPSFM by and notify something by 2024. So that is happening, and yeah, we're very aware that we're now into 2022, and it feels like there's only 2 years to go before we're supposed to have that reviewed, and we haven't done any public engagement on that yet. What we're doing is establishing, first and foremost, our partnership arrangements between Environment Canterbury and the Tempapa Te Pirunanga. And once that's established and we know how we're going to be engaging with mana whenua throughout this process, once that's kind of all in place, we'll be able to then start with an engagement program for the wider region. And it will be, it's most likely that it will be sort of catchment based, that engagement. Yeah, but it may not be at that kind of same level of detail as what you might have seen in the last 10 years, where we were spending a couple of years kind of per zone, sort of nutting out that sort of really gnarly detail. We'll probably hit it at a much higher level of detail in the first instance, and then kind of come back for the more refined stuff later on.
So how are the population, how are the people who want to express their view on these aspects going to understand where you are in the process? What's your comms plan? I mean, I understand you're talking to the or the runanga, but what about where's the comms plan for public involvement?
Yep. So the comms plan can't be established until we've got the arrangements between mana whenua and the regional council sorted. But once that's sorted, then we can take the next few steps, which is figure out how we'll be engaging with the wider public and everything. But there, I guess we are working on it, but it's just taking a bit longer than it's just taking some time to get moving, because it is such a huge project as well. Like it is the scale of what we've done in the last sort of decade. We're doing again in a much shorter time frame. So it's just taking some time to get the cogs in place, I guess.
Okay, thank you for that. Have you any sort of high level information about when you will have the consultation with mana whenua sorted, so that it will then go out wider? And how are we going to know this, and how are we going to tell our residents and ratepayers that this is underway?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any time frames on it, other than we are talking. Councillors and mana whenua are working really closely together to get it sorted as soon as we can. But also knowing that everyone's got a huge amount of competing priorities at the moment. So it's
Is there any particular ECAN committee that this information comes to, that we can alert people to have a look online? Is it in the large formal agenda, or does it go to a particular committee?
At the moment, it's going through to Raupetuia.
Just as a suggestion too, right, Lisa, just following up Sandra's query, I wondered too, like as the committee will be aware, where I've provided, particularly for this committee, PC7 updates sort of month by month as we've met. And often they've been reasonably incremental, small changes, but just I've often conferred with Lisa just to kind of get where are we in the process. So I guess even with my team leader hat on, I think if we continue to do that and just provide an update as we're moving through the process, that means all the committees and therefore the TAs as well are getting informed as we proceed through. Sandra's, that's as one mechanism, I guess, of just even bringing it directly to committees and councils. So if we just keep that pattern going, Lisa.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think we'd all appreciate that, because not all of us are sort of getting all the information that we may like to, and there's clearly needs to be a mechanism whereby that's available or continues to update. So thank you for that.
Cool.
Hi, Murray. Erin Harvey here. I just had a question in relation to, I guess, with the further investigations and monitoring and modelling, which might feed into the changing freshwater framework for the planning. How there's both through the committee and through other groups are interested in collaboratively contributing to this monitoring to ensure that what needs to be done is actually done. But we want to know or want to understand how we can help make it actually plan efficient for you so that it's useful in informing both this planning framework and any future plan changes that may occur.
Yep. So I'm not a scientist, so I could not give any kind of details around that. And I think that sort of working with the ECAN scientists where they can provide support for that kind of thing is probably the best way to do it. I think, again, sort of, because part of the national policy statement for freshwater management does put, it does have some requirements around the monitoring framework for the plan. So that is definitely something we'll be thinking about over the next couple of years. I'm sure science are already thinking about, but it does, I think, just also in terms of informing the next planning process, look back a wee bit to what Lisa was saying, where the first major step in that process is to set up those partnership arrangements with the Papatipu Runanga before we can really start getting down into some of that detail.
Yeah, so you're saying that we need to just keep in touch with science and maybe link back into yourselves once you've progressed further with your relationship building there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Erin. Any further questions? Kate?
There's a question from
Judith?
Sandra. Sorry, Marie wants to do that.
Yep.
From Caroline, sorry. How is ECAN going to deal with the potential requirement for all properties 20 hectares plus to have freshwater farm plans? Just seems a lot of farms to do something very quickly, and how ECAN is going to handle that in practical terms.
Sorry, I'm not sure about other members. I could hardly hear you, Judith. Your microphone.
If you want me just to, I can reread it. Sorry, and thanks for picking that up, Judith. Yeah, Caroline just asked the question around how Environment Canterbury is going to deal with the potential requirements for all properties 20 hectares and above to have a freshwater farm plan. So
can I, unless Kate has anything to add here, that might just have to be something that I have a chat to the Essential Freshwater team and send something back through Murray. I'm not specifically in that space, working in that space at the moment, so I don't want to just make up an answer.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you, Lockie.
Yeah, so I'll take a copy of that and come back to you.
I might be able to help just a little bit. I know that what the actual government requirements are going to be haven't finalised yet. So we are anticipating that we'll just get something in regulation that we have to implement. But yeah, we don't really know when that's going to be and or what it's going to look like. And until we kind of have a bit more detail, we're just not going to know, I'm afraid.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. I think we've probably kicked this can around the room enough. So I appreciate your presentation. And unless there's anybody else out there that would like to say something, I'd like to make the recommendation that the Zone Committee receive this update with its reference. Do I have a mover, please? Judith, seconder. Erin, all those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much, staff, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Righty. Item 3.2. Yeah. Murray, I think you're running that one.
Indeed, I am, Michael. Look, I'll endeavour to share my screen as well, and hopefully the committee, if I can share, I'll make sure I'm in the right place. Oh, I've got to share screen first. Can you see that PowerPoint opening slide?
Can't even see you, mate.
Oh, there we go. That's helpful. Let me get out of that. As Lakia was saying, we've got very used to Teams, but hold on. I'll just see if cancel out of that. Try again.
Just down the bottom, share screen.
If I do that, you can probably see yourselves. Now, if I do that, does that? Can you see the opening slide now from?
No.
Murray, you're sharing the wrong screen. You're sharing your
choice of screens come up when you share.
I've only got one screen. I'm just working off a laptop. Tia, are you able to share? I don't know if you've got that. If I had another screen, I'd share it, but
I can.
I don't know quite. Oh, hold on. I don't know if that helps. Let me try again. Does that look better?
I think I'm sharing it now. Am I? Can we see it?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, look at that.
Judith got it.
Judith.
Hold on, Judith.
Is that gone back to the lead slide?
Yes.
The heading slide. Yep. Okay.
That's great. Look, so we'll follow through with Judith's slides, and I guess hopefully to make this reasonably easy for us to try. Obviously, I've sent you a 49 slide presentation just providing an overview of what are now 6 projects that we're looking to put forward with regard to the $50,000 CWMS action plan budget for this financial year. At the last meeting, so that's the recommendation that we've got on that slide from the meeting paper. And then the next slide, if Judith, if you go through, you'll see they're the 6 projects that we've got. I've put that subtotal in to highlight for us what we'd presented at the previous meeting back on 31 January. So we had the first 4. There are 2 small changes, but 2 changes to note with the sums in those first 4. And the first is a $40 change to Taranaki Stream Inanga spawning improvement, which we had rounded up to 8,600. But in doing the sums in the slides that follow on the program budget, you'll see that it comes to 8,560. Accompanying that, the second project, the Sefton Saltwater Creek Monitoring Program, as you'll see noted there, and you may have recalled from my email or seen in the further content in the slides on that project, that Carol and I had a discussion around that project, and a canny way to get to 50,000 comfortably was to look at incorporating both year 1 and year 2 of that 3-year project into this year. So changing it from, originally it was 3,835, now it's 6,640. The benefit of that is that it allows Carolyn and the group to not only set up the monitoring in the first year, but also to get underway. And as Caroline highlighted, and if she could speak to us today, she could speak to it. I think some of the advice from the likes of Adrian, Meredith and others was more, and I'm sure everyone agree, the more monitoring you can do, the better it is. So it enables the project to actually not only get established, but a bit of room to do some more monitoring if that is actually possible in the next 12 months. So So not only does that help from a budgetary point of view, but I think it also helps the project significantly in terms of not only getting underway, but also well and truly establishing its monitoring program. So those were the two changes to the first 4 projects. Since then, we've also added on, as we workshopped in February, the Ashley Ruakahuri River Care Group coming forward with a estuary shorebird monitoring program around the Saltwater Creek and Ruakahuri estuaries, and also the field trip we had a couple of weeks ago with Greg Burns to look at the Pines Beach wetland willow control and what is the longer term plan for that wetland area. So consequently, we have now got 6 projects in the suite for this financial year, adding up to precisely $50,000 based on that contribution across those projects. So maybe now's a good time for a question for the committee. Do you want to go through all of the presentations, or are we slides, or we better, if there's any questions around any particular projects, if we take that as read and generally accepted in terms of the way it's proposed and the content information. Mindful too that Judith provided a wee bit more background this morning by email on the Biodiversity Trust's visioning workshop, so hopefully that was useful for the committee. Maybe Michael, we're better to go to questions and just see if there's anything by way of if there's any further queries or questions to make the committee comfortable with supporting that suite of projects in this financial year.
Yes, Murray, that'd be my preference. We have spent a fair bit of time workshopping this, so questions would be my preference. So let's go straight there, please. Committee members, do we have questions from the floor with regard to what's being proposed? And I'm sorry, I've still got Judith's screen up, so I can't see if anyone's waving your hand. If you want to speak, just speak.
Caroline's confirmed that all looks good to her, so she's happy with what is proposed. Sorry, Judith?
No, I was just picking up Caroline's message. You said.
Oh,
right. I'm all fine with it.
It's coming on. Yeah.
I think I heard.
Thanks, Arapata.
Yeah, I think we've been through this lots actually, which is great. I feel really comfortable with it.
Good. All right. Well, look,
I feel happy with it as well.
Okay. Well, let's move straight to the recommendation that we receive the information on the proposed action plan budget supported for the 21-22 financial year. And secondly, that we approve these projects based on the $50,000 for the action plan for that for our water zone in that period. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye from Caroline. I think we're all there.
Well done, Caroline.
Any again, please?
Mr. Chairperson, please could you just have a mover and a seconder before you go to vote?
My apologies, Tia.
I can move it. Andrew.
I'll second it.
Right, so we've got Murray. Are you allowed to do
That
that?
was
Murray?
John. No, it was John.
Oh, sorry.
We've got.
Good, mate.
So John Cook has.
We've got the same singing voice, John, obviously.
Absolutely, mate.
Yep. Judith, could you put up your screen, please? Because yeah, I cannot see.
You finished? Can I close this? I'll close the share.
Yeah, I don't think we need that now.
Okay.
Now,
thanks, Judith.
Right, now I feel like I've got my phone out back. Right, so Tia, did we get a mover and a seconder out of that?
I've got John as the mover, but unfortunately, I do not know who seconded it.
Erin has
Martha.
I seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Corker. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right. Item 3.3, and we need Sophie and Murray to take the floor, please.
Thank you, Michael. I'll perhaps defer to Sophie, but I can probably just introduce this. Obviously, while Sophie's just getting online as well. But obviously this is 2 quarterly reports that we've pulled together. Mindful that with the 31 January meeting, it was difficult getting a substantive report together just in a week, just given that a number of people were still on leave. So appreciate the committee allowing us to do 2 quarters in one at this April meeting, and we are scheduled to have the next committee meeting on the 4th of July, which I guess is good timing for us actually doing a 4th quarter report as well. So we'll work towards that. We've obviously had a couple of staff changes and people on leave too. That's also impacted a capacity to do reporting, and I think some of the reporting actually reflects that, for instance, the groundwater science team, they're still looking to recruit a hydrogeologist, which is always quite an impressive title in itself. But Amber has very kindly been able to provide the content that's in there, and in fact, Adrian was able to provide the content for the surface water team too, which was greatly appreciated and something of a surprise when he was able to do that. So appreciate their contributions, given that they're in slightly different situations now, and but particularly with the PC7, it obviously relates to what we've just talked about with Lakeel, Lisa and Kate, that Amber's, as she's done over the last probably year or so, has just highlighted, I guess, in particular the groundwater, but more broadly the science team's involvement and ongoing involvement in PC7, and that continues through it, relating even to the questions we were asking earlier on. I think that'll be maintained as a reporting item against the ZIP addendum as we move into the next stage of planning as well. So maybe that's enough from me at this point. I can perhaps hand over to Sophie if she's online, if she wants to talk through the WDC part.
I'm happy to have it taken as read. There were some reports in the Land and Water Committee that went into more detail about the private well study results and the what else was it? The other biodiversity, community biodiversity funding for the Waimakariri Land Care Trust, for example. So there were some highlights from that report that have been pulled out already as Land and Water Committee reports. But yeah, happy to take any questions.
All righty. Questions from the floor? No? Sandra?
Yes, I just wanted to ask ECAN's surface water team. I was a bit confused. The logger that's been on the salinity logger that's been on the Mandeville Bridge for quite some time, Adrian was going to put a new one on, and it looks like the new one's there, is it? And have you got results coming from it? And what about the results from the logger that's been there for a while? Because the new one, what I'm reading here is it's solar powered, and the data will be coming off. It was installed in the 2nd quarter. So when do we get some results? And what about the old one?
My reading of that, Sandra, was that it would be the next quarter that the results were. So thinking of the 4th July meeting, then our next meeting, we may well have some data from that recording. And
is that
my reading of it, not really
the old one?
I assume both. But yeah, having not had a chance to talk to Adrian directly about it, having just received the data, but and reading through, but my reading of it was that, and certainly that he's hopeful by the look of that we will have some data to report on from that at the 4 July meeting.
Yes, thank you. There was Tudo Patu was being monitored as well. Where do the reports on that go? Does it go to the trust? Can it come to us as well?
I can follow up on that. I am not entirely sure what's happening with those reports, but no, let's make it an action point, and I can follow up with the surface water team, probably in Adrian's absence, but I can at least probably answer that question in terms of where the reporting's going. I would be surprised if there was a reason for it not coming to the zone committee. So like, yeah, I'll assume that that's something I can follow up on, but I'll look to clarify that with the surface water team.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Murray, I had a question in regards to the investigation into the nitrate lag times, and I was just wondering what the progress of that investigation was.
In reading that through too, Erin, yeah, I saw that that's, I guess it relates to our previous briefing too, doesn't it? That's going to feed into and probably help with the next stage and particularly the new planning framework and through into 2024. So, and as Amber's alluded to, it should help improve, I guess, the assumptions upon which that's based. So I think that probably we could almost make as a follow-up action point to what we've talked about with PC7 in terms of timing, whilst that's obviously a specific science question, but yeah, a very relevant one, I guess, in terms of what we're moving into next. So I imagine Amber would be happy and have time to respond to that while she's sort of still covering the north until we get a new appointment for that team leader role.
Thank you, Murray.
I'd just like to follow that up, Erin, by saying it's actually quite a concern, to be honest, when we're pushing hard and everybody's pushing hard to say we need more monitoring to get that baseline. And we're being told, well, there's no progress because we don't have the resources. So it needs to be prioritised. Sandra.
I would agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just also going to add on page 17 in the written agendas, bullet point 2, the investigation into the private wells. The district council has asked ECAN to come and fund the study, which, as you will recall, was a zipper recommendation. ECAN, WDC and the Canterbury District Health Board were to jointly fund an investigation, and to date only WDC has done that, and we're being limited with resource to about, I think we're 39 wells in this report, trying to get it up to 180, which was always the aim, and the full council has asked ECAN to come and put some dosh into it so that we can get the sample size up. I mean, there is concern, as you read from the report, even with a small sample, we are getting 3 or 4 wells that are over the MAV for nitrates and other bits and pieces. So with a tiny wee sample, it's not taking us anywhere. We need to have a wider sampling. So ECAN's been asked to contribute.
All right. Andrew, are you still there? Could you comment, please?
I am still there, Michael. We'll follow that up because I know we're having a discussion, and it was raised earlier also about that was to do with the monitoring to time with the plan and science. But yeah, we'll follow that up with our science folk.
Thank you.
And I do hear what you're saying, Sandra. Yep.
And the financial controller at the same time too. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I just want to add that, yeah, it is a, how to put it, kind of a catch-22 at the moment with everything else that's on the go. That's what's sitting there as the problem, but we'll definitely follow it up. Yep.
Thank you. Judith.
Just a sort of small question. My page 18, the last bullet point in surface water. Cultural liaison staff commence stream walk of reaches of Rutanibba to advise on the Hingakai gathering area. What are they advising on? Where it is, how to grow it, how to grow things, what's there, quality, quantity? It just seemed a little bit of a vague statement. Just wondered what they were actually doing. Maybe just expand on this next time.
Yeah, I'm not directly involved, but I did certainly follow up on that, and I don't know if Sophie may have a wee bit more background, or possibly Arapara, but yeah, there is a. I think what you've listed off is probably covers some elements of where it is in terms of location and scale, health, abundance of watercress in particular locations. So, but that's being done directly with Untitled Hariri, I think, in terms of. So I don't know if you'd like to add anything, Arapara or Sophie, with regards to that.
No,
So
I didn't. There was an ECAN staff member that went out and consulted with the Runanga and grabbed some members to do something. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sophie, I just had one question from page 12, following on with the stormwater monitoring that you started last year and began this year, and some of the water quality sampling that's been done on the urban drainage network. At what stage do we get to look at some of those numbers, please?
Right, so there's an annual report requirement. So it's just Rangiora that's got the consent at the moment. We've done some sampling of the other townships as well, just to kind of get our heads around it. But Rangiora will have an annual report that after sort of the 30th of June financial year will get written up. So I'm guessing around September, October, that's when the results will be ready.
Lovely, thank you.
Yep, cool.
Right, any further questions with regard to 3.3, folks? No. So we have a recommendation that we receive this update for its information, and with reference to the committee's working groups, action plan and engagement priorities in 2022. Do I have a mover, please? Judith, seconder. Somebody out there?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Martha. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Murray, item 4, committee updates.
Okay, folks, just checking in with everybody. How are we feeling? Do you feel like you need a little break, or proceed on and try and finish a bit earlier? Or?
No, I think we're smacking along.
Okay, we'll roll on. That probably suits. I'm aware that Andrew has to leave around 5:30, I think, today. And I'm sure if the committee are happy, we might. There's a couple of items that, and Sophie would, I think, like to have a bit of time to talk through a couple of items under committee updates. But what I might put on first, if I'm just scrolling through mine, is item 4.
I'm Murray. I'm going to leave. Actually, sorry. Yeah, I won't have time to go through those reports anyway. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add at this point, Sophie, before you leave?
Happy to take some questions after the meeting if that helps.
Okay. That's fine. I'll look to Tia, and I'll take any questions that come up through the updates.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie.
See you, Sophie. So just while Andrew and Stephanie are with us online, it might be quite good to, I know it will be a topic that the committee just want to perhaps have a wee bit of time on, which is an update on the Ashirakahuri River, the Brad River Revival Project, and the associated or related Rangiora Reach public consultation, which is about to start, or has just started. Early April, or 7th of April, we've got a session coming up as well that people can join. So, Andrew, should I hand it over to you to start with? Just, I guess the first part is just around the delay to, I guess, what will become a consultation on Brader River revival in time. I can probably, Andrew, unless you want to speak to that, but just and Arapata may want to add in, but I believe that the drafting of that document is gone through to Ngāi Hariri. At present, there is legal action between or from Ngāi Hariri to ECAN with regards to the water bottling consent, and consequently projects like this may take a wee bit longer until that issue is resolved through the court. So it may mean that consultation on this is a little bit further down the track, but the draft document is being advanced, if you like. So I don't know if either Andrew or Arapata would like to add to that at all.
Oh, so Arapata, do you want to say something first? Or?
Well, I was just going to play a straight back and say no comment.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Arapata, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, this project as such, in the stage one, yeah, that front end draft has been put via MKT to Ngāi Hariri Runanga, and it's as I understand it, it's actually hopefully will be presented at the next Kaitiaki Hui. As such, then we'll obviously get their feedback. There is still quite a bit of work to be done, particularly in the River Reach section of it, and we'll be looking not only for the Runanga input there, but also obviously from the Zone Committee on that part of Braided Rivers Revival as we move into stage 2 as such. But yeah, this first stage with Ngāi Hariri is obviously very important, and we need to work through that first before going into the next part. That kind of leads into the Rangiora Reach. Maybe just sort of open up for a little bit of discussion, because there was some, I saw some feedback the other day, perhaps seeking clarification around the consultation, perhaps in particular with the Rangiora Reach, or I think I've just covered off the broader Braided Rivers Revival. But yeah, is there any further feedback or clarification that can be provided by the Zone Committee? Questions I'm talking about, yeah, that you're seeking.
No, thank you, Andrew. Judith, is that?
Sorry, I lost my mouse cursor has disappeared off my screen. That must be a message. I think the first thing about the Rangiora Reach consultation was simply that I think any of us knew about it was I saw it on Facebook, and it was I think it was by the cycling club or somebody had posted it, so it was just that there was this major, I mean, I knew the work was going on because we've heard about the river, the project, the problem with the trees, and the fact there's a steering group being set up. A conversation with Grant Edge before Christmas indicated that there was going to be consultation, but to not actually hear about it formally through the Zone Committee just seems like a breakdown in communication internally, I guess. I guess related to the first question though, and the sort of High Court, the effect of the High Court proceedings on works on the river, how does that feed into all the other things that ECAN are doing on the river, such as this Rangiora Reach one, because it's going to be talking about water and about managing water. And Arapata might want to actually take a swipe at this one and not play the straight bat and make some comments. So 2 questions. One is just why weren't we consulted, and how can we be better? That's history. How can we be better consulted on all sorts of things coming out of ECAN? And the second one is what is the effect of the High Court action on other projects such as this one?
I suppose just to go back slightly on the Rangiora Reach part, is that, yes, you're right, Judith, that there was the advisory committee set up, which was a joint committee with the District Council and with Environment Canterbury, and had various members from both those on there, and that this engagement plan was put together. It was, as such, with COVID and such like, there were some gaps and delays, and then it's been, yes, it has been swung into action. Appreciate that, yes, we could have informed you earlier that it's, or the zone committee earlier, that it was going out. This is for the public consultation part, but I do want to assure you that the zone committee will be part of that next phase. Once we've got that consultation, we're coming back to say, here's what we've heard, what do you think, and effectively to then start creating the master plan for that Rangiora Reach part. So that the opportunity, I get that your point is actually more about being aware of the consultation with public. That piece we could have done better, but you'll definitely have the opportunity as a zone committee to contribute into the master plan. And for that matter too, if you, as any of you as individuals, want to go to the online meetings, then obviously you're more than welcome to and put forward individual comment on that. Yeah. With regard to the other, to be honest, don't know what the impact that's going to have with engagement. We are of the understanding that with Braided Rivers Revival that we may be able to progress that for a little bit, but we've really just got to see where that gets to, and so it could well possibly have some delays. Having said that, some of the work has actually already been agreed that will be part of Braided Rivers Revival and is already underway. So the work that's in place there obviously is the woody weed removal. There is some work happening, as we talked about, in that November time when we looked at the map of the area. There's about 3 projects. I can provide the detail of this after, but 3 projects around what's termed as being boom transition, but effectively is some weed control and also projects. There is some fish passage work being done down near Waikuku, and then there's also some work being done with the Ashley Rakahuri River Care Group in terms of, this has been raised before, in terms of the lupin and a bit of a program that's been put together across 3 years across about 60 hectares of islands, effectively to see if we can actually reduce that lupin in a sustained way for the breeding colonies. So those are sort of 3 or 4 things that can still continue on. But as far as the overall plan and feedback from Braided Rivers Revival and that program of work that's been put together for the Rakahuri, that may well end up being delayed in terms of it being progress. So we've got to play that a little bit by ear at the moment and see where we get to. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Arapata, did you want to add or?
Yeah, look, confession, I just ducked out to get some quinces drowned in red wine and ice cream, and I come back in and I heard Judith mention my name, so I'm not sure about.
It's an honest confession, Arapata. That's a
Can't repeat it while you're back.
Okay, that's all right.
If I could,
I was with Arapata. I was just asking how the High Court action might affect the Rangiora Reach management proposals or even the consultation, and whether, since you're back and listening, whether Naitoa area involved in the Rangiora Reach work.
To be honest, I haven't really thought about consequences. It's just really just been focusing on us getting the right decision made by the courts. Yeah, I'm not sure how it would affect this program, but we always have the view that people's properties or protection of their properties is pretty much second only to the health of the waterways. Yeah. So it's not something I've really thought about. The consequences outside of actually the bottling process. Yeah, but worth thinking about, and I'll have a chat with a few others and see what their thoughts are.
It would be good. I mean, it would be good. I mean, given the legal constraints, if other things that are peripheral could at least be progressed to slowly and be brought in if necessary when there's some decision.
Oh, I have no comments on the legal system, its processes. It's thrown an environment court hearings and all that into it as well. So it's who knows what they're thinking at the time.
I guess we wait to see what the outcome of the legal, the process is, isn't it, really? And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Judith, I think there's a question within your comment there, just to clear that obviously we're working with MKT, with Ngāi Tūhuriri around Braided Rivers Revival for Rakahuri. As a subset of that, back in November, the chair was written to on advice of our Tuia team regarding the Rangiora Reach aspect of it. So they are engaged at those two aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's fair to say runanga and participation in anything to do with water processes and that and water entities has really come to almost a dead stop. I suppose you'll be all aware about the other group that started up in opposition to the Three Waters and a number of councils supporting that group. It's really strained relationships between entities and the Ngā Runanga. And it's really putting a lot of pressure on those leading those entities and those committees. So it's not really something.
The Reach one is complicated too, by the fact that it's really coming as a parks and recreation project, which is interested in the dry bits, whereas
but
the dry bits and the wet bits and how they join together. It seems a very parks and rec focused project. It's what you do, not facilities.
But then again, that's the primary purpose is secondary is protection of people's properties. I mean, every time the Ashley River blows out up at the confluence of our Kuku, it comes right behind us here into Fernside wetlands, into the wetlands. Between Lineside Road, happens all the time when it blows out up there. But and you've had landowners up there crying, screaming out for protection. It's all ECAN's fault, but for decades now they've been the ones that have been refusing to be in the rating system. So
All right. Now I think Stephanie has had to go and pick up her children. She was going to pass some feedback on to Andrew that we could pick on later on.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Mike, and it relates to Judith's question. One of the, outcomes of following up on this Rangiora Reach is I knew of Stephanie, but I hadn't had much chance to be. I was just reading Tia's message to me. I hadn't had much chance to catch up with Stephanie with regards to who works primarily with the Rivers team. So one of the outcomes of this, I think it has emerged very quickly, that consultation for the Rangiora Reach, but it does mean that we're a bit more joined up now. So between Stephanie and Kim, Emily and myself, I will do my best to get a forward plan of what's coming up, particularly from Rivers, which we obviously probably should have had a lot more contact with than we have in recent times. One of the outcomes of this, I guess, is it's pulled me closer to the Rivers team and along with Kim and Emily from the comms perspective. So we'll look to hopefully be able to give that forward program of what might be coming up for the committee in the future.
Yeah, Murray, if I could just jump in there. I think effectively it becomes part of Braided Rivers Revival, which when that plan's put together is actually what that program of work will be. I will send this document through that just gives a bit more information about the various projects that are on the go there at the moment. So, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Righto, I think we've covered that fairly well. I'm just, again, conscious of time and children. Erin, do you want to cover off, if you're still there, the land care working group in terms of an update?
More than happy to take it as read and take any questions.
All right. Any questions of Erin, folks? Lovely. Carry on the good work. Judith?
Same, take as read.
Yep.
Martha will answer questions.
Yep. Caroline's probably out there, so we can't really talk to her. And then we talked a wee bit about monitoring. I think we got the message across, Erin. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I guess I just can't really stress the importance of actually starting to do something, because how, you know, it seems that it's vitally important for feeding into the plans, but yet we can't get engagement to start doing the work just to feed into the plan. Oh, yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, it's that wheel that keeps going round and not actually starting. Yes.
Yep.
Sandra.
Yes, I just want to endorse that. When we had that meeting middle of last year on monitoring, Tim Davey indicated that internally in ECAN there was this new program that was going to do all these fancy things. So we're almost a year down the track now and have had nothing further. So Andrew, Murray, a memo out to us to see where all that is, because you know, I understood that ECAN was working on it and was going to do all the things that everybody was keen to have done, and it's just fallen off the truck or something. So if you could update us, that would be great.
Sandra, just to clarify, so sorry, that's a memo regarding.
Well, where is ECAN's monitoring program that we were told about when all those groups came together at Woodend? We were advised that you had some fancy program that was going to do all these things. So where is that?
Yes, I'm recalling now. The water data program, which is involved an enormous amount of staff time over the last few years. So that is something and it actually probably addresses one or two or three action points from previous meetings that have been raised around monitoring, as Erin has touched on. So it's probably one of the
we don't have to wait till the next 2 months. We would, a memo out just updating everybody would be great.
Yeah, I'll look to follow up with Helen Shaw. I mean, it's probably one of the breakdowns of no longer being in the office together as staff that we've kind of lost a bit of that continuity.
Murray,
so
Murray.
I will follow up with Helen. Yeah. Sorry, Andrew, if you want to add.
So we'll pick that conversation up, and Sandra and Erin, and I know it's come up elsewhere in this conversation. Yet your this piece about monitoring is a frequent flyer in the conversation at the moment, so I can assure you that it's, Sandra will say it hasn't fallen off the truck, but yeah, I do take the point about it perhaps has been forgotten that it's actually on the truck, so to speak. Yeah, so we'll pick it up and follow it through. Yeah, because it's not just for you folk, it's for others and landowners and everybody out there that want to connect with it. And the way that I put it forward, and for example, Erin, with the land care group, is the value that it has in distributing information out to a network of people who can make a difference. Yep. So.
Great. Thank you. Sandra, do you want to talk to the Land and Water Committee meeting?
Not really. It's all there. And the debate was live streamed. But if there's any questions anyone has, welcome them.
Yeah.
I think I've just got one in there. It was around the proposal to use a sucker truck for the sediment trap on Greens Road.
Yep.
Will that have a screen on it so it doesn't take our tuna hiki?
It's now come off the CAM fund and gone into the drainage maintenance budget. Part of the deal with the CAM fund was that it was a capital works focused thing, but I can so it just comes under drain cleaning. But yeah, I can ask the question for you. I would imagine just like any drain maintenance, they'll be very very aware of you know where that trap is. It's just on the corner where the Waitueri goes across and swaps sides and heads.
So the proposal to use a sucker truck was because they just dumped the sediment on the side of the road. Is that right? They don't take that sediment away.
They take it away. Yeah, they're just having a trial of it because we have so much. Well, generally, the rural drainage groups, particularly in the areas where there is lots of lifestyle blocks, don't like the drain cleanings left on the road reserve. They want it taken away, and of course the preference and the is really to leave it there. And if you've got any living things, they can go back into the drain or back into the watercourse. And I mean, in the past we've had liaised with Runanga to get it was Cherie used to do it, I think. Come out. And that's the way it's been going.
We used to do it unpaid in the 70s and 80s when they put the drag lines through there. But we didn't put them back in the river though.
No, I imagine you didn't. But I'll ask what the protocols are going to be.
Because I'm just worried around the timing of it. Autumn, that's when the tuna are heading out to sea. They'll be on the go, and they're going to sit in those sediment traps. If they're 1 metre or 2 metres below the bed, that's where the water's the coolest and it's the darkest, and they'll sit in there and sit there for a couple of days. So it's prime spot for the eels, and they'll just get sucked out there if they're going to use a sucker truck. You won't see them again, or their offspring.
Well, I'll ask and get them to get back to you, but the protocol was to always have someone from Ngāi on site. Yeah.
Apparently MKT said she's not a mandated person, I heard the other day, but big to differ.
it came up. It's come up in one of the rural drainage groups before that.
Because she's been mandated along with 3 or 4 others since the 90s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, indeed. Yeah. I'll ask again and get them to, All right.
No, that's okay. I might have a catch up with you one day around that 4.5 proposed fencing policy.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a lot of gobbledygook.
It was changed at the committee, and I can give a quick update. The fund will only be used because the approach now is a bit of catchment work and a bit of in-stream work, because a lot of the in-stream work had to deal with the new consenting requirements under the NPS. We've gone for a few catchment works, but basically we'll only use the fund when in fact for fencing, when in fact all the regulatory mechanisms that are existing don't do the job, and we can get a better environmental outcome by working with the landowner to set or put a fence or set it back further. You get a better environmental outcome that enhances the river. Then we can use the fund, but we have brought in Anna Veltman from ECAN to come and talk to landowners. It has to be, any fencing has to be permanent, and it has to there has to be a MOU. So there's quite a few things around it before you would actually use money out of the CAM fund to fence any areas. And there's one or two that Sophie identified in the report that Anna's probably going to go out and have a look at now that she's been brought in, because she has, because of the work she's done over the years, has a bit of on the ground relationship with some of these properties that we're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my preference has always been for sediment traps, but WDC seem to think they're ineffective. But I can't see any other way you're going to remove all that historical sediment.
Oh, and it's not that they're ineffective. It's just that the really sizable stuff that we would want to do will need individual consenting, and ECAN has offered all its people to work through when we have something like that, and we'll be doing that for some of them.
Yeah, because I had an off the record meeting with Jenny mid last year, I think it was, around all of that red tape and that, and she says just leave it with me and we'll get it sorted. So
yeah, we haven't heard anything. Well, if something did come back to the biodiversity champions group along that line, that if we had had a project that needed a consent now, that in fact ECAN staff would come on board to help work through the consent. So I'm keen that we actually do that.
Cool, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we just had Andrew Arp sign off. So Kim, if you're still there, if there's anything you'd like to report from a communications point of view.
Kia ora, everyone. No, nothing to add from me. I think there's the report in the agenda, but yeah, comms ideas, thoughts, welcome to flick me or Murray an email and we'll be happy to follow it up. Open to all suggestions.
Okay, any questions of Kim? Great, no, thank you for your time, Kim.
Just related to that, Mike, with Stephanie having left to pick up children, and just while Kim's on as well, in talking to Stephanie, she's obviously, you won't be surprised, very keen to encourage as many people to attend that Rangiora Reach session as possible. So certainly encouraging the committee members, if you want to send out that link to anybody, by all means, please do, or through your networks.
Right. Murray, do you want to cover off points 5, 6 and 7?
Yes. So look, I've got the details there confirmed for this year's Zone Committee refresh. So we've now worked out, I guess, the campaign for this year, which we'll see, as you'll see from the papers, Friday the 29th of April, it'll open for expressions of interest and close 23rd of May. We'll be looking to do the selection workshops in June, and we've already booked in the round of council meetings whereby we'll report the appointments to both Environment Canterbury and all the councils in July and August. So we've effectively got that schedule worked out, and there'll be some early communications just promoting that coming up in late April, just before we get to the opening day. So just for your information to know that, and I've circulated that through the facilitation team, so it goes to all committees.
Judith?
Can I just say that at this point that I'm not going to be putting my name forward for refresh this time. So I know, I can't remember, is it Caroline the other person? I'm not quite sure who it was. But anyway, I'm not going to be coming again.
Yeah, okay. You've put a lot of time and effort in, Caroline. You've put an awful lot of time and effort into this space over
Well, it's been three terms now, yeah. And then with the biodiversity, the trust, I think I've got some energy there. And as most of you know, I've got this sort of health problem, which is meaning I've got to spend a bit more time on myself, which is mostly exercise and actually not getting stressed. So it seems like a good timing to step back.
Cool. Thank you. Sandra?
Thanks for letting us know, Judith. And yeah, look, I think we'll look to obviously acknowledge your contribution to the committee in due course as we move through into July, August. But I guess, yeah, the Biodiversity Trust being established is a natural thing perhaps to step onto and focus on.
It actually just takes away one of the things that was in the WDC report from Sophie highlighted was there is a potential conflict between funding from the WDC for the Biodiversity Trust and Zone Committee when I'm actually on, it's just sort of a bit close. So.
Yeah, John, did you want to put your hand up, sir?
Which John are you talking to?
Yourself, John.
Oh, right. Yep, cool. I'll even give you an ugly shot. Yeah, just very quickly, I thought Sophie was going to talk about the Cam River restoration. There's a couple of mentions in there about Doc hadn't replied to the consultation. Now that's been rectified. I chased up relevant people last week. We've had staff changes and COVID stuff and all that, so we have been in touch. And I wrote to Sophie on Thursday, Friday, and we just got to clarify a couple of matters. But basically, Doc supports the project for the Cam River restoration. Yep, that's all I needed to say.
We'll keep you on, mate. And you don't actually look too bad. You're sitting in your garage.
I am.
Hey, must be your man shed.
Well, car out the back and motorbikes everywhere. Beer fridge in the corner.
Yeah, that's enough. That's out there for the world to hear. Right. Thank
Unlike
you.
Aaron Carter, I haven't had a drop during the bloody meeting.
No problem either. Thank you.
It was for cooking purposes.
Sandra, did you want to chip in there, or were you okay? No, good.
Okay, should I carry on, Michael?
Please. We're in the
the next item is just providing those links. One to the Essential Freshwater package, which is it's just a regular link, and that really follows on from what Lakeel and Lisa were referring to earlier, that's probably a go-to place for latest information. So I assume I'll keep it there. Caroline had made reference in the comments to the Ashburton Hakateri Shorebird Habitat Management Plan, which I included the link to, which is off the Braid site. So having followed up with Frances Smeekle at Ekanchi, she's put a lot of the reports on the Braid Rivers on the Braid site because it's easier to find them. So I took her advice and linked it from there. And as Caroline has pointed out in the chat, just to link you in, Caroline, the fact that in that management plan that they've taken a reach approach to how they've done that monitoring looks like something that's being applied, if you like, with the Rangiora reach approach, which I can recall, as we probably all do, like David Owen even talked about that some time ago as a approach. So there's a consistent element to both of those management plans, but that was just to follow through the last meeting in terms of providing that as a link for you all, as a reference document. Are there any questions on that? If not, I'll go through 7, which we've partly touched on. Several of those action points from previous meetings relate to monitoring, as we've talked about. So I think it is something for me to, as Andrew's alluded to as well, he's prepared to assist in going back, and particularly around the water data program, which Caroline's noted as well, and to look at a more comprehensive way of presenting monitoring information to the committee and possibly then to the wider public as well, but also providing an engagement point for the monitoring working group. And so there's several action points around that. We had other requests and around like the infiltration trench trial. that Sandra had asked about in an earlier meeting too is one that I guess we were also potentially looking at when we were doing the field trip up around the Silverstream area. So that might be something that we both can get a bit of commentary on, but also maybe get to actually go and have a look at. I believe the project's effectively completed now in terms of that work that was being utilised into Plan Change 7, but that could be part of, if we have in May or June, if we go and have a look at the Silverstream, if COVID gives us a bit more flexibility, then that could be incorporated. Judith had asked about the die-off of trees and limestone drain. Adrian would have been my go-to for that. So look, I'll again look to follow up with science to see if there's any kind of investigation or follow-up that can be done in Adrian's absence at this point. So again, that's me talking to the science team. From 31 January, we've also got, following on, actually prior to that, Sandra has also touched on the realignment of the Brook Tributary, which Adrian actually provided some update in the zipper reporting. So again, I guess that's related to the sampling. So it might be that fourth quarter zipper report where we can actually look to follow up on some of the report, the monitoring that's been set up around Tutaipati Lagoon as well, and Brook Trib. Again, that I guess the first from 31 Jan, that was again probably another one that I know Adrian had spoken to previously because he had been following up with NIWA with regards to.
I just thought that actually should read requested an update. It's not a demand that we want to know what they're doing. It's just that there was work underway and we haven't heard anything about it. So perhaps to insert an update on the work rather than. Yeah.
So that might be even something we do under
the progress report. Yeah.
So yeah, I certainly again, it's probably one of the things that's stalled a little bit with Adrian, who was the primary contact from the science team following up on that. The next one with regards to the spraying close to the edge of the treatment ponds. In talking to Sophie, Judith, she had mentioned she'd followed up with you on that.
And I've just got her email here, which is just that they really only. This is from the engineer that for those reasons, i.e., they've got to we spray the track tops. We only spray the bonds where the weeds we don't want are, and if they become overgrown and messy. I think, unfortunately, plants get messy. Engineers don't like that. Such that the dead material starts to float and block the weirs and screens, etc. So they do sort of take some consideration. It's not just a blanket spraying. But I think just the fact that Sophie had raised it has just raised the profile of it with them. So that's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Judith. So I was just checking the comments as well. But yeah, now Sandra, sorry, the Ayrton septic tank study by ESR. Now that was probably when Lee was in the room as well. Was that something that we have, or I should follow up with Lee, or probably Lee's former colleagues in ESR rather than Lee, who's now at DNZ? But is that something that you'd still like me to follow up on?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think we could all benefit from understanding what other science is going on in our patch. And I'd be really keen to know exactly, I mean, clearly, well, I don't know whether it's clearly, but I would assume that the idea behind behind that study is whether in fact it's polluting groundwater to a significant degree and contributing to nitrate levels in groundwater and surface waters. So, I mean, I didn't know it was happening, and I'd like to know what the outcome was.
Well, I found out because I got that onto the list because I happened to just one of those barbecue conversations with Bronwyn, who's one of the authors of that, well, one of the scientists working on it, and she was very excited about the idea that it actually got onto a private they're working on private property in a normal septic tank just to see what the effects are of these. And so I'm sure she was very keen to come and talk to us. So,
great. So, well, we might follow up on that, Judith, in terms of your barbecue connection and following up. But yeah, that sounds fine. And obviously, yeah, I guess we're potentially still looking to catch up with Lee if we do go out and do that Silverstream, which is a different but related connection point, just to the work that ESR have been doing in that area as well. So no, okay, we'll follow up on that and possibly towards a briefing as well from in relation to that item, possibly at the July meeting. And the final two items were is the what I've included above, which are from Caroline with making note of the Ashburton Hakateri shorebird monitoring plan or management plan. So we've included that link, and then I guess what we've talked through from the previous meeting of wanting to have an update on Brader River revival. So given what we've talked through earlier, it is where it's at, and we'll obviously keep that on the radar and look to be following through on both the immediate consultation of Rangiora Reach and then the Brader River revival program as it develops throughout the year. So we'll keep that on point really for us as we go through the coming meetings, or as Sandra noted before, if we can have something at a workshop session before meetings, then all well and good. We'll certainly do that. So I think that's the updates, Michael. Okay. If there's any final questions, it's probably just the recommendations for that one.
No, I think we're all there. Just a note, Erin Harvey just had to sign off, so thanks to her for her time. So we've gone through those updates. Thank you, Murray, for those. So we have a recommendation for 4.1 through to 4.7 that the Zone Committee receive these updates for its information and with reference to the committee's working group's action plan and engagement priorities in 2021. Can I have a mover, please? Judith, thank you. Seconder. John, thanks. John Cook. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Righto. Item 5. Confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting of the 31st of January 2022. Right, so let's have a recommendation there. If that's right. Sorry, just my brain is slowing right down. We can move that recommendation and then ask if there's any changes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yep, thank you. So the recommendation is that the Zone Committee confirms the minutes of our meeting held on the 31st of January 2022 as true and accurate. Can I have a mover? Wendy, thank you. Seconder.
Karapata.
Karapata, thank you, sir. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Is there any matters arising or alterations?
Just one, Chair, regarding the presentation by Michael Bates.
Yep.
When he talks about toxins captured in river sediment, then Caroline commented that the test done approximately 5 years ago indicated that the pesticide levels in the river were non-lethal. However, this information seemed to be outdated. I'm just wondering, is it worthwhile us getting that done again? That way, at least, you know, we can say we've done that. Here's the results, and take it from there with Michael.
Yep.
Hmm.
I would fully endorse that, Arapata. If we can
I think we do owe him some action. I think this is, you know, this would be a good starting point for it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sandra, is that something we could take up with somebody in your team?
I can. It's usually that's ECAN's stretch of the river, down from Bramley's down, and ECAN does all the monitoring and testing. The sediment. I'm just trying to understand the chemistry of what happens in the lower Kaiapoi because of the high nitrate, and it's over the MPS levels. That in fact I'm trying to remember the chemistry of how it works. Basically, it keeps all the pesticides and any organic stuff in solution, basically. So you don't get it deposited in the sediment. Right. That's what happened when there was the last test, and it's going back a decade or more ago now, when they did the sediment testing for when they dug out under the Tūhoi for the berth at the wharf. But I mean, yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't do it again. It's been done a few times, but basically it's always surprisingly clean because of the chemistry of exactly what's happening in that river. That you don't get it in the sediment, but I mean, it's just a suite of. I think ECAN has done it traditionally because they just have the expertise. And I remember being in a boat with one of the ECAN guys going up the river at various points, taking sediment samples from below what was the old wharf up to the confluence with the Cam and further up there. Okay. But that was. Yeah, that would be part and parcel of when there was the consent applied for dredging under the Tūhoi. So that's a decade ago, I guess. But yeah, I mean, ask ECAN would be the request I would suggest goes to, and certainly I think there would be support from the district council as well.
All right, thank you. Sure. Murray, could you take that up with Adrian Meredith, perhaps, just to see if
Yeah, I probably in the short term won't take it up with Adrian, but I'll certainly add that to my list of requests of the science team. So I'll follow up with Shirley Haywood and Amber.
Cool, and put it on.
So yeah, no, that's fine.
Pop it on Andrew Arps's list too. Just
yeah. No, that's fine. I think that's I'll especially as Sandra's highlighted that there may well be well there obviously is some precedent for that monitoring work that they might be able to work off and repeat.
All righty. Any other matters? Lovely. I think we're just about there, folks. Done that. Arapata, would you be so kind as to finish us off with the karakia?
Oh, cool. Then I'm going to have a second helping. Okay. Unu here, ki te uru tapu nui, kia wātia, kia māma, te nākau, te tinana. Te wairua I te ara tangata, ko ia rā I rongo, whakairi aki ki ronga, kia tīna, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora.
Tai ki e. Kia ora, Arapata.
Thank you. So,
hey, Murray, how is Adrian? I see he's back on deck again. I got a couple of emails from him.
He's had a stay of operation, I think is the right way to put it. He's actually going to be he's got a wee bit of time where he's actually been able to I guess contribute to a wee bit of work, as you've seen as well.